as in many other spheres of life, the pandemic is going to create a lot of dramatic changes in education. So during this period, people have discovered more and more how effective online learning can be. And so first of all, I submit that even when we professors can go back to the classroom and have our students face-to-face, we will still prefer blended learning. We have discovered how effective it is to deliver knowledge and even skills through the internet. So I think blended learning will be forever. It will not just be an adaptation to the lockdowns required by the pandemic. So this means that there will be a lot of changes in the demand for different types of education. I foresee a drop in the demand for formal education, whether undergraduate or graduate. For example, I will see fewer people wanting to spend money on MBAs. They will think that that is no longer necessary because they will see that mixed with the acceleration of the so-called Industrial Revolution 4.0, everyone will now be convinced that learning has to be a lifetime process, that what is important in basic education, for example, in K-12, and whatever undergraduate education people still want to get, would be not technical and professional skills, which are better acquired in the workplace, but the foundational knowledge, the character formation that employers will look for. Right now, there is an advice to employers: hire for character and critical thinking, train for skills. So that is now the new hashtag for employers. So which means that what will be given a lot of emphasis by consumers of education will be non-formal and informal education, and no longer the many degrees, college diplomas, and so on and so forth that many of us were obsessed with. That will also solve part of the problem of the Philippines, which is that a lot of young people really don't have to go through college programs. They need to go to technical schools to be good carpenters, plumbers, mechanics, and so on and so forth. And even in IT, there are a lot of jobs you can do in IT without a college education. And especially since there'll be a big crisis in unemployment and underemployment, people will now be more conscious of asking themselves, if I take this course, will I be employed? Before, a lot of people took courses without even worrying about whether or not they will be employed. Just as long as they have this BS, AB, MBA, and so on and so forth. I think that mentality will change. And let me just cite several examples from the past that could now be models for future programs. First of all, when I talk about the importance of critical thinking and effective communication, those who still can afford college education and even master's programs will think of something equivalent to the LIACOM program of De La Salle University, which really was conceived because it wanted to make sure that people who specialize, like in accounting, first of all, read Shakespeare, Dante, Aristotle, and so on and so forth for the critical thinking skills. And another example I give, one of the programs of the Ateneo that have produced probably some of the best leaders in this country was called Management Engineering. But as they themselves admitted, it was neither management nor engineering. It was a very good course in the liberal arts, especially focused on the quantitative subjects. And they produced some of the outstanding leaders we now have. That is where a lot more people will focus their interests. College education, like Liacom in De La Salle, Management Engineering and Ateneo, but a good number of young people will not even want to go to college anymore. They will go to schools like Dual Tech, like the Meralco Foundation, like SITE in Cebu, which are non-college programs, very much like TESDA, that I think will proliferate as we industrialize more and more. So I think I've said enough, and I'm sure I have aroused a lot of interest as well as controversy, especially I'm sure my remark that MBA programs will no longer be as popular because, as you know, that was more or less the end all and be all of a lot of people going to business. I think that the glamour of the MBA program will disappear. And there will be so many other ways of acquiring business knowledge. And right, without flattering Richard, just the Asia CEO Forum is a way of getting so much knowledge in business without going to a graduate program. And let me just finish by saying in the last 2 days, I got involved in 2 webinars that I would make equivalent to 3 units in college. One by the National University of Singapore. They had the best speakers for 3 days on the question, what is the impact of aging on countries all over the world, especially China? The content, the lectures, and the reading lists there would be equivalent to 1 whole semester in a college program. It was delivered in 3 days by some of the most outstanding researchers on demographics. And I'm sure Richard knows that in the last 3 days, we had Arrancada. So many panels, so many speakers about what's happening to the Philippine economy, what's happening to the various industries. You know, those 3 days would be equivalent to 1 semester of contemporary economic issues in our curriculum. So those are the types of programs, webinars, informal chats, and so on and so forth, that will be the way that could constitute the so-called new learning modes.